So this session is on request of one of the listeners who wanted me to discuss what is the essential philosophies discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. The question arises for all people who study Bhagavad Gita that how come Bhagavad Gita is so popular? India has no shortage of books on spiritual traditions, and there are so many people who have tried to write on philosophy or various books or whatever it is. But somehow or the other, the Bhagavad Gita has stood out. It is outstanding as far as popularity is concerned, as far as the uh, following is concerned. There is literally no book in India which comes anywhere close to Bhagavad Gita. Now, as you know, many educational institutions have started teaching Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita is being promoted as the one book that all people who are Hindus should read. What made it so popular? Why is it so popular? And what is there within Bhagavad Gita which attracts everyone to it? And everyone says, yes, yes, Bhagavad Gita. So I am going to relate that to you. Also, you will say, everyone will tell you that Bhagavad Gita is their book. People who are doing yoga will say, no, no, Bhagavad Gita says yoga is the best. People who are studying knowledge will say, no, 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 Bhagavad Gita is the best for knowledge. Those who are doing devotion will say, no, 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 Bhagavad Gita is the best for devotion. Others will say, Bhagavad Gita is best for meditation. So everyone will come out and claim Bhagavad Gita as their book. So this is the uniqueness of the Bhagavad Gita. And how did that come about? And what did Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita that made it universal? The Bhagavad Gita has two characteristics, which I have discussed in the title. Some of you may have followed the title, some of you may have found the words in the title too bombastic. But in the day of Google, I believe anyone can find out the meaning of any word. That's why I did not hesitate to put the words there. It consists of two aspects which are never illustrated by 99.9% of people who teach, read, study, write on Bhagavad Gita. They never emphasize this point, that the Bhagavad Gita is about syncreticism, and it is also about polemics. What is syncreticism? What is being syncretic? Syncretic means you take two opposing philosophies that apparently contradict each other and you bring them together. And when you bring these two philosophies together, you get a composite philosophy that makes sense. And the contradictions are dissolved. So when Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, there were many philosophies that were present at that time. Some of them were Gnostic, and then there were those that were Astic. Some of those followed the Vedas, and some of the philosophies did not follow the Vedas. Some of the philosophies were Dharma, and there were philosophies that were Adharma. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjun is captured by the adharmic philosophies. What were the adharmic philosophies? The adharmic philosophies were those philosophies that did not believe in the Vedas, that did not believe in God, that is, they were atheistical. And not only did they not believe in God, they believed and centered their philosophy around the law of karma. And Arjun, when he is on the battlefield, might appear as if he has got such great compassion for the people on the other side. But if you hear his words, it's very clear that Arjun is concerned about what will happen to him. All these things will happen, Arjun says. And then that sin will be mine because I started it, because I am involved in it. All that sin will be mine. So those non-Vedic, atheistical, salvation-centric, only concerned with moksha, 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 moksha. I give a damn for the rest of the world. I give a damn about my parents. I give a damn about my family. I give a damn about my wife and children. I give a damn about society. I only want moksha. So these were non-Vedic, these were atheistical, these were salvation-centric, these were renunciatory. These were philosophies where the ultimate was to renounce the world. These were the philosophies that were considered adharmic. Krishna wanted Dharma to be emphasized. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam sirjami aham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna comes when there is a decline in religion, a decline in dharma, and when there's a rise in adharma. He comes to re-establish the principles of dharma. And the principles of dharma very clearly are: follow the Vedas, follow God. It is not atheistical, it is dharma is always theistical. Dharma is not contrary to the Vedas, dharma follows the Vedas. Dharma is not concerned with your obsession with moksha. There's a sequence called dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That when you do your dharma, automatically you will get artha, kama, and automatically if you're doing dharma in the proper way, moksha will come to you automatically, naturally, effortlessly. You don't lose out on moksha. Moksha is part of the sequence. Dharma does not advise you to abandon the world. So the Bhagavad Gita brings in, you see, because there were so many philosophies that were following the Vedas. On one hand, you had, well, if you want to look at it that way, you can say that there were 6 Darshanas of the Vedas. And these 6 Darshanas of the Vedas, 6 systems of Hindu philosophy, were Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimosa, and Vedanta. And these six usually run in pairs. So you have Nyaya and Vaisheshika going together. You have Sankhya and Yoga that go together. And you have Mimosa and Vedanta that go together. So Nyaya and Vaisheshika essentially deal with the categorization of matter and experiences that we have. Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayur, Kam. This is a division of matter. Rajagun, Sattvagun, Tamagun. These are all classification, these are all divisions. While it is largely found in Sankhya, Nyaya goes even deeper. That's why Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayur, Kam, Manobuddhirevacha, Ahankara Ityame, Binna Prakriti Ashtada. Aparyamitastvanyam Prakritim Vidhi Me Param. Jiva Bhuta Mahabhao Yayedam Dharyate Jagat. That earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, these are part of my separated energies. And you are part of my superior energy, which is sustaining and maintaining creation. These are all breaking up matter. Then we come to Sankhya and Yoga, which go together. Sankhya is the knowledge theory, and Yoga is the meditative practice. And this Sankhya is discussed in detail in the Bhagavad Gita. This is discussed in detail in the Bhagavad Gita. Many people talk on Vedanta and then they talk about Sankhya without realizing what is Sankhya and what is Vedanta. For example, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, these are all characteristics that are well described in Sankhya. Yet they will be popped into Vedanta and propounded as Vedanta philosophy. That's not Vedanta philosophy. We'll be very clear about that. Sankhya is what Krishna teaches Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And Yoga is also what Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita. So, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you have largely Sankhya being taught. And that is the base of the Bhagavad Gita. You also have Yoga being taught in the sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. These two go together. And lastly, you have Mimosa and Vedanta. And this Mimosa and Vedanta also go together. Because Mimosa is nothing but the performance of karma kand or rituals. And the other part of Mimosa Vedanta is Vedanta, which explains the spiritual nature of Brahman. Now, you might think that Sankhya and Vedanta contradict each other. But this is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita and the beauty of Krishna when he speaks, that he brings about a syncretic union between them. So he talks about Sankhya, which is he talks about Prakriti and Purush. And then he talks about Brahman, which includes both of them. So Purush and Prakriti, you are Purush, one of the Purushas. And there is Prakriti. And above that is Brahman. And then Because Bhagavad Gita is a text which is essentially a devotional Vaishnav text. Krishna is beyond Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I am the source. I am the root. I am the support of Brahman. So you have Krishna, you have Brahman, and you have Prakriti and the Purushas. So this is the uniqueness that he brings them all together. Therefore, if you talk to anyone who's doing yoga and you quote this verse from Bhagavad Gita, that, you know, in the 6th chapter it says that the yogi is higher than the jnani. He's higher than the person who does karma kanda. He'll say, yes, 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 this is all perfect. So every yogi will tell you that. You will find people who pick out verses from Bhagavad Gita saying yoga is the best. You'll find people who pick out individual verses from the Bhagavad Gita and say jnana is the best. You'll pick out people who will pick out other verses from Bhagavad Gita and point out something else is the best. But Bhagavad Gita brings all of them together. Bhagavad Gita is a synthesis of yogas. It brings all the philosophies together. And bringing all the philosophies together, it does away with their contradictions. For example, in Sankhya, people were abandoning the world and going into the forests. And on the other hand, and Sankhya believed by doing that, they would become free from the cycle of birth and death. They would become Sthita Prajna, Jivan Mukta. They would, at the time of death, reach Videha Mukti and they will go beyond the cycle of birth and death. On the same hand, there were people who were following Mimosa, who were following the Karma Kanda of the Vedas. And they said, no, you have to stay in society. You can't leave it. You must do your duty, fulfill your obligations. And you will get a reward of going to Swarg or heaven. And eventually you will be reborn in a higher birth with greater wealth, greater status, more intelligence, so that you will acquire more knowledge. But Krishna says, why don't you understand that it is both, not one or the other? Do your duties, perform your karma kand, fulfill your obligations to society and to God. But don't do it for the fruit. Don't do it for heaven. Don't do it to acquire some benefits in the next life. And if you perform it in a spirit of devotion and renunciation, you will live in the world as a karma kandi, as a mimausi, and yet you will attain the benefits. You will attain the benefits of Sankhya. You will attain the benefits of getting moksha. You will attain the benefits of Vedanta. So this is the uniqueness of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna talks. That's why if you pick out one verse at a time, you're totally confused. You're lost. You're finished. You can't understand Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita brings multiple astikya philosophies together. He brings all those philosophies that follow the Vedas, that are theistical, and he brings them all together, resolving their contradictions. On the other hand, the Nastikya philosophies, he argues and debates against them. He condemns them. And this condemning of other Gnostic philosophies, which are non-Vedic, which are in fact atheistical, these texts, these philosophies, Krishna condemns without any contradiction. For example, these philosophies that were non-Vedic, they all belong to what we call as the Shramana philosophies. At those times, it had not yet differentiated into different philosophies as they have now. Now you know them, say no two of them as Buddhism and Jainism. They don't believe in God. They believe in the law of karma. And they believe through your personal effort, you can attain salvation. So this is condemned by Krishna. Krishna unequivocally declares that there are people who follow useless philosophies. And what do these people say? They say this world is unreal. They say that this world is without foundation. Asatyam apratishtam te. Jagat ahur anishwaram. They say there is no controller of this universe. Aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kamahetukam. They say this is 16th chapter, 8th verse when he's describing demonical people and the philosophies they follow. They believe that this world is unreal, it's an illusion. They believe that this world has no foundation. They believe that this cosmic manifestation has got no controller, no God, no Ishvara, no Bhagavan. They believe that aparaspara, by mutual lust, this world has been caused, sambhutam. And this world is only kama hetukam, only due to lust. This is a straight condemnation of such atheistical philosophies. Direct condemnation. And in 16.7, Krishna says, Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidur asura na saucham napi chacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. These people are demonic. They don't know what is to be done. They don't know what is not to be done. They know neither cleanliness, nor proper behavior, nor any truth. 16.7 Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidurasura na saucham napi chacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. This is the nature of people who are following atheistical philosophies. And further, these people, because they don't follow the Vedas, they practice all kinds of tortures to their body. You can find out that, you will see many religions, including especially Jainism, where you are considered famous and a great dharmatma if you fast more number of days. Oh, I have fasted 21 days. Oh, I have fasted 31 days. So they're performed for respect, honor, and reverence, this austerities. Satkara mana pujartham tapo dambhena chaivayat kriyate tatta proktam rajasam chalam adruvam. Those austerities and performances which are done in order to gain respect, honor, and reverence, these are rajaguni. They are neither stable nor permanent. In fact, these people even persuade their children to torture their bodies and fast. You may read in the newspapers of people who have caused their children to fast unto death. They hire a hall, put the child up on the stage, say he's fasted so many days until finally that poor child fasts to death in order to please his parents, who are totally foolish and idiotic. Mood grahenatmano yat pidaye kriyate tapah parasyot sadanartham tat tamasam udaritam. Those penances and austerities which are performed foolishly by means of obstinate self-torture to destroy and injure the self, they are said to be in the mode of tamogun. So they perform tamoguni austerities. Therefore, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita never advises that you should eat too much or eat too little. He says this philosophy is not meant for those who eat too much or eat too little, who sleep too much or sleep too little, but those who are moderate in their eating, sleeping, and recreation. They can mitigate all the sufferings of this world by following this system. So elsewhere I have done with you, I think, what Krishna wants, what austerities Krishna wants you to perform. Austerities of the body, austerities of speech, and austerity of the mind. Krishna does not want you to renounce the world. It's very clear. Very clear. Whereas, if you look to Buddhism and Jainism, they will believe that without renouncing the world, you can't attain anything spiritual. But Krishna says clearly to Arjuna, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha in chapter 5, text 2, Sannyasa karma yogascha nihashrayasya karaubhav tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. The renunciation of work and work in a spirit of devotion are both good for salvation. But between the two, work in a spirit of devotion is far better than giving up work. So Krishna does not want you to abandon the world. In fact, he doesn't want you to believe in the law of karma, because he wants you to follow himself. And by following him, you will transcend karma. Krishna teaches Bhagavad Gita as a karma busting book. Bhagavad Gita is a karma busting book. It busts the idea of karma. It says that when you perform your actions in a spirit of sacrifice and devotion to God, you attain salvation. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaishami ma sucha. Abandon all other varieties of adharma and follow me, and I will save you from all sin, never fear. In fact, Krishna says, Sannyasastu mahabhao dukkham aptuma yogata. Chapter 5, verse 6. Yoga yukta munir brahma na chirena adigachati. If you are not those who abandon the world, they get only sorrow. If you abandon the world without having attained union with God, you get only sorrow. But those who work in a spirit of devotion, they attain the supreme without delay.
Oh,
So, essentially, what is Bhagavad Gita saying? Bhagavad Gita unites many Astikya philosophies and resolves the contradictions between them. That's why everyone loves it. The Vedantins say, that's my book. Sankhya people say, it's my book. people who are engaged in yoga say it's my book because it includes all of them and it resolves the contradictions between them. It also condemns non-Vedic, non-violent philosophies. That non-violence is not born out of compassion as they might have you fooled. They are non-violent because they are afraid of the reaction of karma to themselves. It is a selfish non-violence because they are afraid of what will come back upon them. It has got nothing to do with compassion towards other living entities. It is because मैं उसको मारेगा तो मुझे मेरे ऊपर आ जाएगा. And this is the kind of selfish thinking that paralyzed Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So, in defeating non-Vedic, non-violent, atheistical, salvation-centric, renunciatory philosophies, Bhagavad Gita is polemical. It argues against. When you talk about Ashtikya philosophies that are included in the 6 Darshanas of the Vedas, resolving all contradictions, bringing them together in a wonderful synthesis of yogas, the Bhagavad Gita is syncretic. Therefore, on one side, it unites Dharma, dharmic philosophies. On the other side, it rejects a dharmic philosophy. So I'll pause here. If there are any questions on this subject, please feel free to go ahead and ask.
Good morning, sir. Sir, our first question is why people are so concerned only about themselves and instead of concerning the humankind?
Pardon?
So why people are so concerned only about themselves instead of concerning humankind?
Because evolutionarily, biologically, for the survival of the individual organism, if you are not concerned with self, you will be dead. You cannot do away with the sense of self. But the sense of self is not to be overused. The sense of self is not to be overused. I'll give you an example. If you look at Switzerland, everyone undergoes military service and everyone has a rifle in their home. No one dares to invade Switzerland because Switzerland, they will take out the gun and they will all come on the street. But because they don't take out the gun unnecessarily and it is there only as an extreme use, it's a very peaceful country. Gun violence or deaths from guns is almost not there. On the other hand, look at the United States, where the Second Amendment gives authority to every American to carry a gun. And because they don't realize that the gun has to be kept only for extreme use in extreme circumstances, and they overuse it, and mad people use it, and mad children come and shoot other children in school, and people start killing people left and right. The overuse of that gun is a cause of disaster and death, and people are fighting for gun control laws which will do away with guns altogether, which is probably not the best thing. The Swiss scenario is the one I would like you to remember. The sense of self is like a gun. It is to be kept aside. It is to be kept in abeyance, to be used only when necessary. But if you are signing a legal contract, if you don't take out your sense of self, you will realize that you are in a very difficult position. You cannot lose your sense of self. It is to be kept in abeyance. It is to be transcended. It is to be surrendered. But be careful, you will require it at some time. It is a necessary thing. That is why God gives you things that are necessary.
So, sir, is it also because of the fear that people concern themselves over humankind?
I didn't get your question.
So, I'm saying, is it also because of the fear that
What
people
is it?
fear of fear? That's why they concern themselves instead of concerning humankind, because they are somewhere afraid of someone else will. I mean, they are not secure.
So security comes from God. When you're based in God, then you become secure. So by remembering God and forgetting self is the best way to suspend this sense of self and prevent overusing it. But then God who's seated in your heart will give you a signal when you're supposed to use the sense of self and protect the sense of self.
Sure. So our next question is, so can one skip out of dharma, earth, kam, moksha? So, sir, can one skip earth and kam to reach moksha just by doing karma?
I don't follow the question.
So I'm saying instead of dharma, earth, kam, moksha. So instead of following earth and kam, can one directly reach moksha?
That is the foolishness of these people of Shramana philosophies, of Buddhists and Jainis who want to attain moksha without doing dharma. That is condemned by Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita says if you do your dharma, all the rest will follow. You do your dharma, that is most important. Do your dharma in a spirit of sacrifice. And if you do your dharma in a spirit of sacrifice, whatever is your legitimate calm and earth will come to you. And your moksha will also be there for you.
So, sir, how Bhagavad Gita define enlightenment and moksha?
Is that
Can
your
a
question?
normal person also
Is that your
attain?
question? Is that your question?
No, sir.
Then this is a question of someone who's not attended any lectures before this. They are attending this lecture first time.
Sure, sir. So I'll go to the next question.
Yes.
Sir, you were talking about the Sankhya, Yoga, Mimosa, and Vedanta philosophy. So, sir, do these philosophies help human being to reach moksha, or is it just okay, one can follow one at a time?
Just follow Bhagavad Gita. Don't confuse yourself. This lecture may go over the heads of some people, but that's fine. My message is that don't worry about other philosophies. There are many. If you follow Bhagavad Gita, you're automatically following all of them.
Sure, sir. So these were all questions for today.
So those who have these other questions, what is enlightenment, what is moksha, what is this, then you please go back to the other lectures which are all recorded and which are available, and you'll find your answers there. If you come in late, then don't bore the current audience with questions that are based on your lack of attendance of the previous lot. Please attend previous lectures. They're all available online, and then you will follow. If you follow them in sequence, you will get a clear understanding of what I'm saying. So in conclusion, again, I'm telling you that Bhagavad Gita is actually an amalgamation. It's a synthesis of yogas. It is a syncretic union of different philosophies. And it is also a polemical work which argues against and criticizes non-Vedic atheistical philosophies, which are salvation-centric, moksha, moksha, moksha. They're called moksha hounds, the hounds of moksha. They're keeping on putting their heads in the air and saying, moksha chahiye, moksha chahiye. Pehle dharma karo. Moksha aa jayega apne aap. So those moksha hounds are to be condemned. Do your dharma, as the way Krishna is describing Bhagavad Gita, moksha will be yours before you know it. So don't renounce the world. That is also a sign of foolishness according to Bhagavad Gita. Repeatedly, Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says, and worship Krishna in his form, because that is also a recommendation of Bhagavad Gita. Don't worship one god here and one god there. And if you go to many altars where people worship in India today, you will find some 15, 20 gods, if not 108 or 333 gods. You will find a full wallpaper of multiple gods over there. This is not worship. Worship is you have to worship one God. This is very important. You know, you can eat nourishing food or you can eat bhelpuri. Most people are indulging in spiritual bhelpuri. Krishna says, Mam ekam sharanam raja. Krishna is clearly saying, Sarva dharman parityaja, Mam ekam sharanam raja. Abandon all other varieties of religion, surrender to me alone. Because the Bhagavad Gita contains all philosophies contained within it. It rejects those philosophies which are against Dharma. So you're protected. And you get the benefit of all the various Astikya dharmas. Thus, the Bhagavad Gita is the one book which is sufficient and enough, more than enough. Krishna says, when you have learned what I tell, when you have heard what I tell you, there's nothing more to be known.
Sure, sir. So these were our questions for today.
All right.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Hari Om, Jai Shri
Hari Om.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.